It's funny, we say philosophy, we really mean a kind of vision of the world. And there is nothing more profound than the communication of art or of poetry. And in both cases, there's a double thing that happens. You don't just hear a poem, or even if you're reasonably bright, translate in your mind what the poem is saying. You become the poem. It becomes an echo area in your entire life. It builds up your world. Some lines are never forgotten, Shakespeare's lines, Yeats's lines, and they persist as an argument, and a wonderful one. And so it is in the visual experience, and they're quite different. Therefore, we speak of communication, we speak of art, we speak of poetry, we speak of music. Good Lord, we speak of music, and that again, most of the noises and the sights are nothing. They're the accidents of life. But the ones that become transformed are the ones that guide your life, and give it structure, give it purpose, and enable you to reach beyond yourself to others. That is what writing's about. That is what art's about. That is what music is about. And when one of my students' CD, I played it at home, not thinking much, and then suddenly I thought, oh my God, this is my recording Casal, but it wasn't. It was that beautiful child. And in those few seconds or minutes, I heard the partita, I heard Bach at Bach's best in the hands of a beautiful little girl. I use that word beautiful, enhanced in my mind by the mere fact that she is musical, by the mere fact that it's Bach, by the mere fact that she has given her body literally and her mind to something as magnificent as the greatest composer of all time. That we can, in music, in our minds, hear Bach, and we don't quite know what happens, but we know we have heard Bach, which means that we have subtly analyzed the remarkable conditions he created, repetitions and auditions of how our souls could be heard through cellos, through groups playing music. And this is true again in art, and we'll never get over the art. Seeing a horse will never be the same again if you've seen Degas, his sculpture, his drawings, his miraculous treatment of it. Not Rosa Bonheur, a popular artist who paints somewhat realistic horses and has the horse fair, but Degas, who finds, as it were, the balletic substance, that dynamic motion within the art itself, and within that thing we call a horse, that living wonder, and with anything else. So that when we speak of the forest of symbols, which I mentioned yesterday, he invents something which, because no one has ever understood that each of the forms of sight and sound, and music in sound, and music in music, are ways of knowing our reality, and yes, transforming it into a subjective way that it will be part of our life forever. Which is why, when we think of someone as vulgar, to vulgate, it means really what it says, most people. But most people haven't got a scintilla, a hundredth, a thousandth of the appassionata, not in bed with their lovers, not out of bed, not in their writing, which is mundane and profane even. They don't have a sense of the transformation of human, of the God in all of us, the God in which you don't have to believe, because simply the fact of Bach, the fact of music, the fact of discovery, the fact of Degas, the fact of 1,000 other artists and writers, and Yeats above all, is what sacredness is about. If you allow for that, and I guess that is the fundamental mobile which concerns this school that I've been with and started, I guess, that those are the sacred things to me, that God is not in the details. God created art, and as such we worship at that, and at that level of poetry, of sight, of art, of sculpture, of music, we are transformed even as we transform ourselves, discovering something more powerful, more universal, more repetitive for the rest of our life than we ever would have had, but for the Yeats, but for Degas, but for Bach. So therefore, when I created this school, it was to take my quasi-religious sense of the miracle is in our transcendence, in the best that humans can do and be, and that we could share with the happy few, Stendhal's happy few. If that sounds elitist, I don't give a damn. We are elitists. We discover ourselves through the world, and then we transform and translate the world to other selves. And that translation of the world we've discovered of art, of beauty, of music, of dance, we share.